Hey everyone, it's Ethan here. I just wanted to give everyone a little warning that during recording on my audio track, no idea why this is happening, there's like a robotic static sound that happens every so often. It's, totally listenable, but it can be kind of annoying, so no idea why this happened. Look forward to fixing it in the future, but want to apologize for that up front. It's not the quality of podcast we want to release, but please enjoy as much as you can our podcast on Santa Mi Amor.
Hey, I'm Mike.
Hey, I'm Ethan.
I watched the first half of Santa Mi Amor.
I watched the second half of Santa Mi Amor.
And this is the other half.
Damn, they made Santa hot. That's the real Santa. He's so hot, dude.
That
Look
is
at
the
him.
real Santa.
Look
That's
at him with
obviously
his gray
who Santa
beard.
looks like.
Yeah, so we got a recommendation for this movie a while ago. Was it Mia on the podcast who recommended it?
Which Mia?
So.
We've had two Mias on the podcast.
I'm just going to say Mia in general. And then maybe
I believe it was Mia that recommended this film to us. I believe she was like, we got high and I watched this movie and it was very funny. Now I'm not going to say which Mia it was, so I'm just going to leave it open interpretation of which Mia got high. But yes, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. We don't criminalize anyone here.
We're not criminalizing.
We're just saying.
But yeah, I think it was a situation where that happened, and then I was like, and they were trying to describe it, like she was like, it had something to do with Santa, and like there was a lady, and they kept like trying to put the pieces together, and finally I found it, and they were like, yes, this is the movie, you have to see this movie. So I was like ready and set. I was like ready and set and go. It's about this, it's about a Santa and this lady who falls in love with them, and Mrs. Claus is not in the picture.
Yeah,
but that's not what this movie's really about at all.
Not really. I could see it though if you maybe came in halfway through. Maybe you would think it is that.
This is what I'm excited about. The movie makes a very strong point halfway through the movie where Sergio, the guy who is playing the role of Santa, makes a choice. And he's like, I am going to go full Santa because there's this little girl named Leon who believes in Santa and believes that her mom is dating Santa. And so Sergio has to go whole hog, and he's like, I'm making this place into the North Pole, and I'm going to really, really commit to this whole Santa bit. And that is the end of my half, the beginning of Ethan's half. And I'm just like, oh, this is going to be fun. How long is Ethan going to think this guy is really Santa Claus?
It took a bit. It was the part where like she leaned over and was like, how'd you do all this? And I was like, okay. I think I understand. I think I'm picking up what's going down.
The thing about these movies, like just recently this year, what is it? Sexy Frosty came out.
Hot Frosty.
I keep calling it Sexy Frosty.
You call it Sexy Frosty. I mean, they're synonyms. You're in the right thing, right position, right? See, I can't even use synonyms properly. You're in the right wheelhouse.
Hot Frosty, which was about, I think, like an ice sculpture or a snowman coming to life and a woman falling in love with him. So, like, it's not outside the realm of possibility that this guy would be Santa Claus.
Stupid Christmas movie premises have been around forever. Exactly. It's part of the Christmas movie joy is they have the dumbest present. Like they're kind of like you're kind of pitched on the premise. Like the premise is honestly because they all look the same on the poster. It's always got a guy and a lady and maybe some kids there. It'd be like, oh, family.
One's wearing green, one's wearing red.
Yeah, they got fucking wrapping paper around them or whatever. And the hat's all silly. I don't know. And they're smiling behind a tree. They all look the same. So you got to look at the premise and be like, what's this? What's the gimmick on this?
What's setting this one aside from all the other ones? Yeah.
And when you see someone fucking Santa, you're like, I want to know.
I'm in. Yeah.
I want to know what Santa's stockings are like. Yeah. Yes, this movie's all in Spanish, by the way.
Yes.
The title, which is fun.
Yeah, well, so the title card, it refers to this movie as Santa Mi Amor, but I've also seen it referred to as Dating Santa, I think is the other name of the film.
Which is less funny and less good.
I know.
I don't know. Like,
which also commits to the idea that this guy is Santa Claus.
Yeah, Santa's my love.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just dating Santa. He's just a guy.
I'm just dating Santa.
I could break up at any time, maybe he farts in the bed too much, and I'm just like not down with that.
He's lactose intolerant, but he still drinks all the milk, so he farts a lot in bed. Oh my
God, that would be that's a Christmas story I want to see.
I genuinely would like to see a movie about a mom who falls in love with Santa Claus. I think that'd be a really funny idea.
Yeah. But we're starting with this movie, which isn't what we were expecting. No. But I don't know. It wasn't bad.
Not bad.
It's not bad.
It's not
It's
that
got
bad.
I think the worst part about it is the editing and the directing. I think.
Whoa! I thought the
think-
directing was pretty good.
No, I did not like the way everything. It was they're making choices, and I will say I'll give them credit for going for it. I just don't think any of them worked, and I don't think that I think the movie really lacked a cohesive style. I think it was kind
that's
of
true.
all over the place, and they're going for a lot of different things. And I gotta say that's better than when we watched Christmas Wedding Planner earlier this year.
Yes.
Earlier this
Where
year,
it had nothing going for it.
It was but there was nothing interesting. It was like everything was so simply shot,
very bland.
very basic. And now this one is like it's doing stuff. It's just not consistent. They're just like we're gonna try this shot. It's all over the place.
I looked up the director, and I think this is like the second movie this dude's ever put together, and it really feels like he's just like, I gotta get shit for my reel. I gotta show what I can do because one day I'm gonna make something that's important, something that's
I'm gonna
real.
make something real.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I also thought the acting was pretty good. Like the little girl who
I did
plays,
like the acting a lot.
Yeah, the little girl was really good. Like she was very committed to believing that Santa was real, and I like the guy playing Sergio. He was cool.
He was charming. The mom was good too.
Yeah, mom was a little crazy, but her character's crazy, and the actor commits to it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's her actor, not her.
Her name is Lucia.
Yes.
She is an architect, but I don't think that's going to come into play at all in your half of the
never
movie.
knew what she did. I was curious.
Yes.
I also have no idea how they met. I have no idea how or why Leon thinks that her mom is dating Santa, like actual Santa.
Can you
not
make
just a random guy.
make some guesses? Make some guesses as to
my thought is she walks in on them after like a date or something, and they were kissing, and mom makes a quick excuse and is like, "Hey, just that was Santa. It was okay. That's why this person's in the house." That's my guess, but that's kind of
why
basic.
would you lie to your kid about kissing Santa Claus when you could just easily go like, "This is my boyfriend"?
So that's a great question. Why would you lie about that? The only reason I could kind of think about it is because she has this thing where she keeps saying like, "You're my Christmas miracle."
Yes.
But I think she misinterpreted it to something else, and the mom is like too weak-willed to confront her daughter and like break the magic of like something like that she is not birthed from Santa, because that's what it sounds like she thinks.
You're pretty close to the reality of the situation.
Okay.
So
okay.
let me tell you a little bit about how they met, though.
I got all the pieces. I want to put them together, though.
And you missed one big piece, which is how they met. They met via a blind date put together by Lucia's sister Pia, which I'm sure you never meet her either.
I see her, and I'm like, that must be sister.
That's her sister. So she meets Sergio. He's a chef for a chain of restaurants referred to as Indigo.
Okay, I had almost no idea what he actually did.
He's a chef. He makes food.
Okay.
I wrote down he's very charming. He's very, very charming. Where I'm like, because at first we meet him, because I was all ready for her to fall in love with actual Santa Claus.
So you think like Santa's gonna come out and he's gonna have to like out swag Sergio?
Because at first I was like, Sergio's hitting it off with her really well. Like, I don't know how she's gonna wind up falling in love with Santa Claus. And then eventually I'm like, wait, Sergio has like a beard. Like, he might be able to play like a sexy Santa.
Exactly.
But he's really charming and really sweet. She's kind of a mess. She showed up late and she's wearing her sweater backwards and inside out.
You kept saying she was a mess, and I was like, how is she a mess? And
like,
the clearest way to do that in a romantic comedy or any sort of Christmas movie is to show that they're clumsy or they can't think about all the little details. And it's like,
that's what it is.
she needs
too
a
focused
man
on her
to
daughter.
help her. She needs a man to help her in her life to figure out all this stuff because she can't do it on her own. She's just barely surviving.
Exactly. She's clearly not thriving, living as a single mom.
She's
and
not
an
very girl
architect.
boss right now. She needs to go trad wife. So what they're saying in this movie.
So yeah, exactly. So well, actually, at first, because they end up like in a one shot, they end up actually like making out and kissing each other. I wrote down here, honestly, I like how this movie is shot so far. Probably because I'm coming off on a lot of like we were referring to like Christmas Wedding Planner. These movies that have no style whatsoever, no flash, no pizzazz. This movie's got a ton
watching
of
a stage play.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And so they make out, but then she's like, I can't do this. She's like, I have a daughter. You have a job. we have our own things that we live really far away from each other. This can never happen. And immediately Sergio's like, I guess you're right. Like, you're right. I have a job. You have a daughter. Like, we really can't do that. So she is girl bossing. She's like, I'm not going to wind up in this relationship. We learn a bit more about them. Sergio one day wants to own his own restaurant. He asks if she wants to go to the beach. And she's like, are you always this impulsive? And he says, no, only when I'm with you. And that's just so much for her. So they start making out and kissing again.
Nice.
And they end up going to bed together that night.
Whoa.
But she leaves.
Santa.
That's right. She's climbing down that chimney.
Ooh, yeah.
So the next morning he wakes up, she's gone, left a little note. And she goes to pick up her daughter from her sister's house, and her sister is just like, tell me all about Sergio. Wasn't he a good guy? I want to live vicariously through you. And her husband, who is there with like one of the two babies that they have, is like, girl, like,
oh yeah, he's kind of like he's played as kind of like a dopey kind of guy. He's just, I don't know. He seems okay though, but I don't know.
He's like a tired, committed dad. Like, I don't know, it's for good. So what happens next?
But he's probably not romantic or anything. Like, Sergio's got it all, baby.
There's
like,
no romance. They've got two babies. Like, there's no everyone's covered in vomit.
Mike, you can have romance anywhere. You just got to put in that effort, dude. You got to put in that effort. You go through that baby vomit, clean that shit off.
Mm-hmm.
Use a little Clorox and then smash on the baby table. I imagine you could take 2 humans on it.
As long as the babies aren't there.
Exactly.
So Lucia picks up her daughter. She is obsessed with Christmas and Santa Claus, but I also don't realize it's like basically Christmas time right now. So I'm just like, why is she talking about Christmas so much? And then she forces her mom to dress the car up like a reindeer. You know that thing that people do where they dress the car up with like the antlers and the nose and all that stuff?
Yeah, they do that stuff. I think that's fun. I like the people who go crazy and just are like, I'm wrapping in Christmas lights. I'm like, is that legal?
I am a sucker for Christmas lights on a car.
I love
that shit
it.
is
I think it's great.
Crazy. Every time I see it, I'm like, how are they doing that? Like, I know how they do it, but even so, every time I see it, I'm like, that's so
I
impressive.
realize I have all the equipment to do that, and I have extra lights. Should I just do that? Why wouldn't
do
I?
it?
Is it illegal? I should look up if it's illegal or not. Because I feel like, yeah. I don't know if I'm cool enough to break the law. I don't know. Cool enough to break the law on Christmas. We'll see.
We shall see.
Later.
It's also state laws, right? I don't know if it's legal where we are.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Either way. So we see Lucia. She's drawing trees on our architectural sketches, which is literally the only amount of architecture we see her accomplishing. Is not even
the part that's no architecture, right? Like, she's just drawing trees.
Just drawing trees in the corner. And then Sergio and Lucia meet up. And he's like, I want to meet your daughter. I want to meet, Leo. She's such a big part of your life. I'd love to meet her. And she's like, no, because I don't want this to fall apart and then she will be heartbroken. She's just like, what if this is just a 1-night stand, a 2-night stand? So they're like, how about this? If in 1 year's time we're still together, I'll introduce you to her. Do a little pinky promise on that. Okay. And then Leo does a little dance as a reindeer for the school's Christmas play, and then 1 year passes like that. We get a little montage of like 7 shots showing the passage of time, and then suddenly it's Christmas again, to the point where I didn't even realize the time had passed until like the babies from earlier had grown up 1 year, and like you see this tree that was like small earlier. It's actually kind of cool because they don't rely on title cards. You just have to sort of pick it up through context clues.
But it also sounds like you couldn't catch it right away.
The montages are so short. I was like, It's like 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, and then there's the tree again. I'm like, well, I don't know, maybe we just haven't reached Christmas yet. But no, it is Christmas time. So it's a year has passed. Leo writes her list to Santa, and there's a wish included that she wishes that her and her mom would be together forever, just the two of them.
Oh,
so she's got a weird, unhealthy attachment to her mom. Well, it's another. What happens next? One night, the mom puts Leo to bed, and she tells her the story about when she was born. The story that she tells her is that one night, around Christmas time, she wanted a daughter so much that she put it on a Christmas list to Santa, and Santa delivered the daughter to her. Okay. But the real story is that she had a 1-night stand with a guy, and during a wedding, like in like a like a closet, and in the closet, right next to them as they were banging, there was a Santa like toy or something. But she doesn't want to, I think, tell Leo the truth that she's, the product of like a one night stand, and she doesn't know who the dad is. So she has to concoct this lie that one, Santa's real, and two, you were brought to me by Santa, basically. So that's why Leo has such a fascination and attachment to Santa.
Gotcha.
So
makes sense.
That night, Leo falls asleep, goes to bed. Sergio arrives at Lucia's house and calls her up on the phone and is like, hey, I have 2 weeks vacation and I want to spend it with you and I want to meet Leo and Lucia's like, you can't be here. Leo's asleep, and Sergio's wearing a little Santa hat because it's like around the holidays again. And then he's like, it's been a year. Like, I really want to meet her. And then all of a sudden we hear a scream and it's Leo. She's like, intruder! It's a stranger, Mom! And eventually Lucia's like, no, it's my boyfriend. And she starts screaming even louder. She's like, no! And the only way to stop her from screaming is to tell her that he is Santa Claus. And she's like, you can't be Santa Claus. You're too ugly to be Santa Claus. And so they say, no, he is Santa Claus. He just looks like this because he's undercover. And his hair is like dark. Usually his hair is really dark.
Sure.
And he's wearing like chef's clothes and stuff. I know, yeah. A lot of insults.
Yeah, this is a lot of this is a big of a stretch also.
Yeah. Calling Sergio ugly.
Yeah, that's also a big stretch too. I didn't even think about that one.
So the next day, Sergio's talking to Lucia, and he's just like, you gotta tell her the truth. You gotta tell your daughter the truth. And but he's still really connected to his job even on vacation. And you can tell he's connected to his job because one, he's on his phone, and two, he eats some food that he really likes, and then he calls one of his chef friends and is like, hey, there's this food that you really need to try. It's really good. And Lucia sees all this and she goes, you don't have enough room for Leo and for us. Yeah, it's kind of a lot, honestly.
It's kind of a lot because I don't know, he's obviously trying still.
He is, and he still wants to meet her.
Yeah, she clearly has some trauma or something around it where
I think she's worried about
abandoned.
Yeah, exactly. So there's an Xmas play that Leo is going to be a part of. She's going to be the what is it? The Christmas Carol, and she's playing the Ghost of Christmas Past, and there's all these other kids dressed like the different characters, and they're all in the green room talking to each other before the play, and they're talking about how all their family is there, and their mom and their dads are there, and this one kid's like, my 2 moms are here, and they're like, where's your dad? And Leo's like, I don't have a dad.
Oh,
and they're
no!
And the kid's like, well, I don't have a dad either. I've got 2 moms. Don't you have parents? Don't you have anybody other than your mom?
And I love how they're like, they'll still find a way to be like, oh, don't you understand? You're supposed to have 2.
You're supposed to have 2, actually.
Doesn't matter what gender they are. You gotta have 2. That's normal.
It's funny because it's progressive, but not really progressive.
I know. It's like, well, also there are a lot of people who just don't have another.
Yeah,
parent.
maybe they're gone.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to talk about it. But yeah, so basically she's like, well, my mom does have a boyfriend, and they're like, oh, okay. And they're like, and he's Santa Claus, and they start laughing at her, and she flips out, and she starts breaking stuff. She rips up her costumes and their costumes. She just goes on a big old tantrum, and she cries to her mom, and she says, my friends think I'm crazy, and they think Santa isn't real. And the mom's like, well, what can I do to make things better? And she's like, take me to the North Pole so I can prove that Santa's real. And rather than going well, Leon, he's not real. Rather than just being honest with her, she goes to Sergio the next day and she says, here's what we're going to do. I know you want to meet my daughter. And the only way to meet my daughter is if you dress up like Santa Claus, and if we go to one of your restaurants that you run and the town that it's set in, which looks kind of like the North Pole, and we're going to go there and we're going to lie to my daughter.
Uh-huh.
And that's the plan. And Sergio's like, no, that's a bad idea.
I mean, that's honestly very Very smart of him to say that, but also I understand like if he's down, he's down. I mean, obviously
he ends
down,
up. She ends up like convincing him. I think he just loves her so much, and eventually he relents. And so here's how much he commits to this, because she keeps saying like, you didn't put any effort in. You're not trying hard enough. Here's how much effort he puts in. He buys a new outfit that looks just like Santa Claus. He drinks and eats a bunch of food so that he gets a big old belly. And he turns his hair and beard white. He goes to like the salon and like gets his hair colored and stuff. And it's like he has committed. He's fully committed to this,
Pretty good commitment. Also something he said, this is a bad idea, but I support you because you think it's a good idea. It's already like, come on, man. I don't know. That's pretty good.
Which is kind of why I'm like, I don't know. It's like, obviously it's a silly little comedy, but I'm like, Lucia, throw the guy a bone, man. Come on.
This guy is handsome as hell and is like seems to be doing everything right. Sure, his one problem is sometimes he's working hard to, I don't know, work on his dreams and provide income. I don't know.
He has two problems. One, you're right. He works way too hard on the dream of one day owning a restaurant. And his other problem is that he's not Santa Claus.
And one of those things is impossible to do. So
yeah, exactly.
What was he set up?
So then Leo meets Sergio again, and but he suddenly starts getting texts on his phone. And he needs to answer them, and so she's like, "Where are all your reindeer?" And he's like, "Well, they quit because we had an argument." And they're like, and she's like, "Even Rudolph?" And she says Rudolph in this like cute little kid way. She's just like, Rudolph, and he goes, "Yeah, even Rudolph. Rudolph's gone too." And she's like, "No." She starts screaming. He's like, "Yeah, they left forever."
Oh my god! So he's committing, but he's also like he's doing some cameo.
He doesn't know how to commit. Like he doesn't really know what to say. I mean, honestly, to be fair, yeah. Like if I was told, like, okay, you have to act like Santa in front of this kid, I'm like, I mean, I'll do the best I can.
I would say when I was a kid, my grandpa came in. I don't know if you ever had any like relatives that did this, but they came in dressed as Santa and they would hand out presents. But my grandpa did this, and I knew it was my grandpa because he smelled like beer. And I was like, I can't believe Santa smells like Grandpa. Santa smells like Pabst Blue Ribbon. This is amazing. And then I thought about it. Well, I didn't actually. I was none the wiser.
Yeah,
I don't think I connected until later. And I was like, wait a second. Wait 1 second here.
That's awesome.
Like Grandpa's gonna do his best. He got the outfit. He's all dressed up. He's got the stuff. But Grandpa's got to have his beer. And he can't ride in on like some reindeers or anything. That's crazy.
I probably have said this on the podcast before, but when I was a kid, my parents, there was like a Santa that you could like rent, and you had to rent him like really far in advance. And my mom and dad rented this guy, and he'd show up to your house as Santa Claus, and they would say that like the reindeer were on the roof, but you're a little kid, you can't see the reindeer on the roof. But they had like had like a little walkie-talkie, and you could hear the reindeer on the other end, and it was like a whole thing.
Oh wow.
But we didn't do that. But
That's crazy.
I told my parents about it. I'm like, was that just some guy? And they're like, no, we had to like get that. We had to book that dude in advance, like really far in advance.
Wow.
Like, it was hard to get that dude to show up at our house.
Well, I imagine Christmas Day also was like just one day, or even if
this was on Christmas Eve.
Okay, I mean even then you got like 2 days. You're all booked.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Like that's all you're doing. Like you're missing your family. You're working on Christmas. It's crazy.
It's just, and also it's like I only have enough time, and then the Santa leaves, and then he goes to another house down the block somewhere,
down
right?
the street, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So they get in a little car and they drive to this little town that the rest of the movie takes place in, and they have to drive through this tiny little small tunnel that the car like barely fits in. I feel like they got this car because it's like this little red like car. And they thought it would fit through this little tunnel, and it like just barely fits enough where I'm like, oh, I hope this actor knows what he's doing to get him through that tunnel. But they get through the tunnel. They're on the other side. The mom says, this is a portal to the North Pole. They get to the other side, and instantly Leo's like, this isn't the North Pole. Where's all the snow? And Sergio's like, global warming.
All right, that's pretty good.
So they go to this restaurant that's called The Cabin, because Lucia says that that's Santa's cabin. And it's kind of annoying because, again, Lucia's like, oh, that's Santa's cabin. Let's go eat there or whatever. And it's like, I don't know, maybe we should defer to Sergio, who knows the area, because he's like, that place isn't very good. The food isn't very good and the help isn't very good. Like, no, let's kind of like not do that. But Lucia's like, no, I'm going to go. I'm going to get us on the list. She goes to like talk to the people there, and the people there are like rude, and she's just like, we have this guy, can you refer to him as Santa, please? And can you guys act like you're like in the North Pole.
Wow,
and they're
there's
like
so much effort for this. This is crazy.
so much work. Which again, I'm like, if you went to the restaurant that he ran, like maybe they would be more down. Which actually we learned that they are more down. They're fully committed to helping him out, but she doesn't do that. And while she's in the restaurant talking up about this, Sergio and Leo are alone, and he tries to talk to her. He's like, "So how is school? Like, do you like school?" And Leo's like, "No kids like school. I thought you understood children, Santa. You're supposed to understand us." And then she like looks at him like for a really long time. And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "You're supposed to be able to read my thoughts. You're supposed to have telekinetic power, Santa."
I remember that part of my Santa lore.
Yeah, I know. And so then she like spills, or like she squeezes this little like purple juice box, squeezes it all over her shirt, and they go eat in the cabin together. And it's funny because like I was watching this with my wife, and she was like, it would be a really funny concept if like this kid was acting up around this guy, and then eventually he was like, "Well, I am Santa Claus, and you've not been a very good kid, so you're not going to get presents, little girl."
Yeah. Well, he also doesn't want. He also is trying to be in the good graces of the mom. Can you imagine? You're like, I finally get to meet your kid. Oh, it's amazing. Also, she's on the naughty list, right? Like that'd be so awful.
That would be a great idea for a movie, right?
I think a character would be redeemable after that, though.
What, the little kid?
No, the Santa. The Santa.
But what if it was actually Santa? What if it was
actual
really...
Santa? Okay.
What if actual Santa fell in love and it's just like, well, I have this kid's on the naughty list, and it's like, oh no. But then at the end of the movie, you know, the kid believes in Santa and becomes part of the good list again.
I think you just wrote Santa Claus 4. I think
boom, baby, I did it.
That's what it could be about.
Call me up. I'll make it for you.
Yeah, get Tim on the phone.
Yeah, get Tim on the phone. So what happens next? So Lucia ends up going up to Sergio. Oh wait, so they go to the cabin. They're there. They they are served cookies and milk, which I guess they just get for being there. Mm-hmm. And Sergio's like, "Oh, I don't want the cookies. Those are way too sweet." And then he also says, "Oh, is that real milk, or is that like almond milk?" And you know, Leo sees all this, and she's like starting to note, like, he doesn't eat cookies. He doesn't drink real milk. I don't think this guy's really Santa Claus. Like, she starts to be very suspicious about the whole thing.
Yeah, I would be.
Yeah, I mean, how long would you be? How long would you be suspicious?
I would be pretty suspicious. Yeah. If all Santa did was drink beer.
If this Santa didn't smell like Pabst Blue Ribbon, I'm very suspicious. So Lucia and Sergio are talking to each other, and they're just like, sort of, Lucia's like, "You're not putting any effort into this," and this is where I'm like, he's put a lot of effort into this girl. And Leo sees all this, and she's just books it, and she runs through town. She ends up bumping into the mayor of the small town, who has this big old crush on Sergio, and she's dressed like Dr. Evil. So
I've never seen this guy. I did not see this character at all.
It's a lady.
I see one.
It's like a bigger lady with like gray hair.
Oh, okay. I think I do see her. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm assuming you did, because she seemed like a kind of important character.
Yeah.
So then Lucia and Leo are it's at the end of the night. They all go to the cabin that they're all renting, and Lucia puts Leo down to bed, and Leo's like, "Mom, I got something to tell you. I don't think that's Santa, and I don't think this is the North Pole." And she's like, "It's okay, Mom. He tricked me too, but I think he's an imposter. I think he's the Grinch."
Oh, shit.
And she says, "And I think just to be safe, it would be a good idea if you didn't kiss any men anymore, because then none of them could trick you, and you can just be with me forever." And it's a really good moment. The little kid who is playing Leo is like pretty spectacular in this role.
She's pretty adorable.
She's
really
perfect. So Lucia tells Sergio, she's like, "I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know how to resolve this." And Sergio's like, "I have an idea. Tell the truth." He's like, "This is a bad idea. You need to tell your daughter that Santa's not real." And Lucia's like, "You didn't even give this a shot." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? He didn't give this a shot. Look where you're at right now." So Sergio goes for a little walk to the restaurant that he works at. He goes to the bar, and he talks to the bartender who he knows. And he's just like, "I love Lucia. I love her. Like, I've fallen in love with her." And he's like, "I feel bad. Like, I feel bad that I'm not a good Santa for her daughter. I feel like I'm failing." And Sergio describes his love for Lucia like umami. He's like, it's like umami. It's like this special, perfect, delicious flavor that, you know, is perfect in your mouth, but it's hard to describe. And he says umami, but the bartender thinks he's saying tumami.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's a funny joke. That's a
joke that only rolls in Spanish. I could see.
Exactly. Actually, so I watched this on Amazon Prime. It's on Amazon Prime. And they do have an English translation. I'm very curious to see how they would handle that in the English translation of the movie.
Oh, you mean like the dub?
Yeah, the dub. I wonder how the dub would handle that joke. I'm not sure. Maybe it's like umami and then it's like your mommy? I don't know.
Could be something similar. Yeah, I don't know.
So anyway, he's just like, I love her, but I don't know how to resolve this. And so the two of them are like, here's what we're going to do. We are going to fully commit to this. We are going to go to the mayor. We're going to get everyone who works at this restaurant together. And we are going to make this place look like the North Pole. And so they talk to the mayor. They got all their supplies set up. And my scene ends. My half of the movie ends with the sun coming up on the very next day. I'm assuming after all of their work has been done. And I'm very curious to hear, what did you think is going on in this movie?
Okay, so first off, the montage, it felt like I was watching an AI video. Like it looked
What
like...
are you talking about?
The montage was just like hands doing Christmas things. And the way it was shot was very stilted, very like head on. So it was very surreal because it was like a hand wrapping a present, someone painting something. And it just felt very weird. So I'm like, what the fuck is this movie?
Santa Mi Amor, baby.
Santa Mi Amor, I guess. But anyway, I see this mom. She wakes up her kid. And she says, we have to talk about Santa. And I'm like, damn, this kid really missing her two front teeth. Like, she ain't got no front teeth.
She has none.
No front teeth.
That's all she wants for Christmas.
That's all she wants for Christmas. She never asked about that. But then Santa and his elves arrive. And I was like, what is she going to talk about Santa about? I had no idea. Now I know. She's probably going to be like, Santa ain't real.
Yes.
But this motherfucker shows up, and he is, like, walking down with a bunch of people dressed like elves next to him, coming down here. And she's like, wow, Santa's here. What were you going to say, Mom? And it's like, she's like, oh, shit, he's actually doing it. Blown away by Daddy Santa.
Yeah.
And they're like telling him how to be Santa. It's like, you got to say ho, ho, ho. And he's like, ho, ho, ho. I say, Leo, you passed the test. Do you know the real North Pole is protected by magic? We can't just let anyone in. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Where are we? Because as far as I know,
you're at the North Pole, baby.
I thought I was at the actual North Pole, but it's all, it's not like snowy or anything. I'm like,
sure.
What's going on here?
Global warming.
Like, we got a magic and it's going to protect it. Don't worry. It'll all help. And we'll all get you here.
It's like Black Panther. Have you seen Black Panther?
It's basically Black Panther, but for little Santas. Exactly.
Yeah.
So then they say Christmas is 5 days away. We can't let anyone in, And then we're allowing you in because you yourself are magical. Is there something before implied that Leon's magical at all? Because it feels like this is something implied before. Okay.
Just that she was brought to them by Santa,
Okay. A single horse appears with antlers and a Rudolph nose. So they dress. It's kind of funny. I bet they use the antlers from the car, and they use the antler and maybe the red nose from the car as well to decorate the horse, which is very funny. But yeah, she buys it. So they ride a horse into this town where they go to the real North Pole, and it's a bunch of like clearly Spanish influenced style village that's been decorated, but it looks real. Like they went all out. Like
they did it.
If I wasn't an architect like her mom, I wouldn't know. I'd be fooled.
Hey, maybe the North Pole does have Spanish inspired architecture. You don't know.
That's true. Those conquistadors got all over the place. Who knows where they went?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, everyone's dancing. They're having a good time. They give Santa a tour of the North Pole. I'm like, this is fun. I wonder what the rest of the movie was about. Because like right now we're just chilling with this kid and Santa. It must have been just how they met or something. I didn't know about this whole commitment thing or anything like that.
No, none of that.
So then we cut to a bunch of different montages. Like it looks like a really good job of the North Pole. He even shows her like letters from Santa. And she's like, you want to read some? And there's like a bunch of letters she reads. There's a bunch of people just throwing like crochet balls at each other, like snowballs, but not really.
Oh, that's cute.
But then suddenly he's on a zip line and they're like, Santa has to ride the zip line. And it's just Santa, Mom, and the daughter there. And he's like, I'm afraid of heights. And she's like, too bad. And they just push him across the zip line. And then they go back to going to the North Pole. And I'm like, this is nowhere near North Pole. It's like in the middle of just the forest. It's a very strange scene. It was just there. I guess they're like, we don't know where to put this, but it's fun because he obviously did a pretty big stunt, so we're going to have to put it in.
You had figured it out at this point, it sounds like.
Yeah. So they now get taken to, she now gets taken to a cookie house, all made out of cookies. And she's like, oh, I'm going to eat this part then. And they're like, no, don't eat that banister. Don't do it. This is a historical cookie house. You need to respect it and not eat it. I'm like, that's a pretty good lie.
Yeah.
But you can tell he's putting in like extra effort to these lies, right?
He's trying.
He's trying to be like Mom, which is a bad idea. But he's going to do everything to wipe that lady up.
Right.
So,
because he wants to be her husband, her husbando.
Yes. I guess she wished for a cookie a long time ago to him, and he didn't give it to her, but now is the time to get it. She takes one of the cookies, which are just like paper, like they're made out of like, I don't know, cardboard, and she takes one of those to eat later. She just steals one because she's a little girl. She's going to steal things.
Oh, but it's made of cardboard?
It's made of cardboard, dude. She's going to find that out later. Especially when she doesn't have any two front teeth to eat them. So, she's hanging out with Santa. She says, Santa, a lot of kids say, I'm your number one fan, but like I am legitimately your number one fan. And they say they are fans. They're liars. I wanted to meet you, Santa, because my mom always told me you were to thank you for making me be born. And at this point, Santa looks over at the mom like, what the fuck is going on, dude? And she's like, go along with it. And he's like, are you fucking kidding me? But okay. Yeah. And it's like, so say thank you. She's like, thank you for what? It's like, well, she said Santa was responsible for making me, and I was a Christmas miracle. So make sure to thank Santa for that. Do that, Mom. It's like, okay, thank you, Santa, for making my daughter. It was very weird, but it was kind of funny too.
That's pretty great.
Santa's just
I like that.
What the fuck? And I honestly had no idea what she was talking about, how she was a Christmas miracle, what all this weird stuff is. Neither did our boy Sergio either.
No, our boy Sergio now realizes how deep he is into this this problem he can't get out.
Yes,
I'm dating a crazy person.
So he then hangs out with just Leo by herself, and they're hanging out making s'mores. And she's like, why don't you have kids, Santa? He's like, well, I never thought it was possible. She's like, why? Because, well, due to my job, it's like very busy, He's
like, telling the truth.
She's like, yeah, I understand that. My mom is really busy too, and it's really hard for her. I don't have a childhood that's very normal. And he's like, I didn't either, to be honest. I didn't really have a good childhood either. I didn't have any parents or anyone really in my life.
Whoa.
So I kind of understand what it's like. And he says, I've never fallen in love until your mother. And then
what about Mrs. Claus?
I know, exactly. Where's Mrs. Claus in this? Also, by the way, they're making s'mores, but they're making s'mores with like quesadillas.
Oh,
so they're using it like a quesadilla to like cover it up. Also, he's like, you gotta wait till it's the perfect time. I had no idea this guy was a chef, by the way, and this motherfucker just burnt the shit out of his s'more. He just lit that shit on fire, and he's like, it's still good. We gotta go a little longer. And I'm like,
not a very good chef.
No, not a good chef. So then later, it's Mom and Sergio or Santa. I'm gonna say Santa because at this point I didn't know Sergio. I didn't know who Sergio was. Santa. Was just there in front of the story of the campfire, and in front of the campfire, Mom tells a story. Says like, okay, so this is what happened when Leo was about 3 years old. She saw a girl with a dad and asked where her dad was, and he's like, did you say it was Santa? She's like, no, I didn't say it was Santa. But she said, we are unique and special. You don't always have to have a dad to have a family.
That's right.
But I couldn't tell her that like. Even like the name of the dad, because I didn't even remember the dad, so I couldn't even like tell her about her own dad, and I felt guilty about that. And then she also then promised me that it would just be me and her against the world. And Santa just like takes a beat and thinks and says, like, look, I have no idea what it's like to be a mom. I can only guess how hard it was doing it yourself, but it's okay because I'll be by your side the whole time. And then they smooch. It's like, aw, cute.
He's committed.
Exactly.
He's committed to his committed lady.
Exactly. And then Leon tries biting a cookie, and she bites
realizes.
into it, and she flips it around. And you watch this on Amazon Prime, while on the other side is an Amazon logo of the cart. Like, they obviously made it out of Amazon.
Oh, my God.
Amazon cardboard, which is funny because honestly, probably would be accurate.
Probably, yeah. Just lying around.
That is great product placement, I gotta say. Like, that is the most accurate product placement. One of the few accurate product placements I've seen in the movie. Where it's
Buy from Amazon. You can use our boxes to make cookies.
Your boxes make cookies, exactly.
Yeah.
I could, yeah. Okay, where was I? She bites it. So she goes down. She's gonna go downstairs to like tell them like, hey, this cookie's weird. But she sees mom. She sees mom downstairs with Santa, and she has her legs over Santa, and they're just laughing and talking, like obviously having like a very intimate moment. She's laughing her head off, like having fun.
Right.
And, you know, unlike I feel like most little kids, this is with the kids of fantasy. She's just like, all right. They're having a good time. I'm not gonna bother them. Yeah, I'm like, nah, kid's gonna be like, fuck that. What are they doing?
Not real at all.
Not real at all. I don't buy that. But she's like, that's nice. So then mom comes down. She sees a phone blowing up with a bunch of work messages. I know they're work messages because the subtitles just say work messages because I don't know what they say. And then Santa's making some like French matcha rolls, and I'm like, what the fuck? This is just Santa burning s'mores, burning all these marshmallows. Now he's making these amazing rolls. And
Never.
He's like, we're gonna do some other Christmas stuff. And then at this point, I think Leon's maybe catching on that it's not Santa, but it doesn't matter.
How is she starting to catch on this?
Well, I think she's catching on because of the cookie thing, obviously.
Oh, I see.
The fact that the cookie was fake. And then she's like, can we do something that's not Christmas themed? He's like, okay. So they play Rummy. And he goes through most of the game, and he's just like not scoring. And they're like, why aren't you scoring? And they're like, wait a second, you don't know how to play Rummy. He's like, no, I never had. I was an only child. I didn't have any parents or anything, so I never played any of these games. And you're like, do you not know any other game like Uno or, I don't know.
Crazy Eight?
Crazy Eight, anything old maid? Like, no, I don't know any games. First off, why would you sit someone down in front of a game and be like, all right, we're playing this. You wouldn't ever ask, like, do you know how to play? Because I feel like every time any game, someone comes up to you and goes, do you know how to play? Like, whether it's old maid, whatever, people will ask you, do you know the rules? Do you want to go over the rules?
Ethan, you are a considerate person who is also a gamer and has done this a lot of times. I think a lot of people just show up and they're just like, we're going to play Uno. Doesn't matter if you know how to play it or not.
I guess you're right. I guess. They're like, everyone knows how to play Uno, right? I'm like, maybe I don't.
Some people probably don't.
I forget how to play Uno all the time. I have to look up the rules real quick just to get a little refresher. And then it comes back to me. But even then, I need a little refresher. But maybe that's just my own memory problem. So I assume everyone else has that. Everyone else and normal people, without memory issues, they just walk around with Uno in their head all the time. They can just rip those rules out any time. They could write a manual if they were put on the spot. I would die. So he's like, he admits he's the only child. Okay, yeah. He said in the past, he's mentioning, she asked, like, how'd you learn to make marshmallow quesadillas? He said in the past life before Santa. And she's like, it's okay. You can actually tell me, stories about you before you became Santa. Like, I think that's kind of nice. You could tell me that. Is what Leon says. So it's like, she's trying to learn who this guy actually is, because I don't think she believes it's Santa anymore. But it doesn't matter. Mom's tucking in her daughter, and she goes to talk to. She's talking to the daughter, and the daughter says, hey, I think we could be a great trio together against the world. I really like this guy. He's really cool. I think we could do this.
Right.
And she's like, is it because he's Santa? And she says, no, it's because you laugh more with him than you do without him. Very sweet. Very cute. Too astute for a kid, but whatever.
It's too astute for a kid.
This kid, yeah, it's very cute. But I mean, that was the scene we saw earlier.
That does feel a lot like that. Like, and I talked to my kid after watching the news, and my kid told me that this is this, and it's like,
yeah.
The kid doesn't know shit.
Kid has super insight where he's like, Donald Trump will lose the election or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like,
kid is like,
okay.
Kid is like, Mom and Dad, why are there people outside upset and hungry? Why don't we just share everything with each other? And it's like, no, the kid's just like, Dad, I want to go to McDonald's.
Can you share your McDonald's fries with me like we share with the homeless people?
Please? Like we should share?
Like we should, but we don't. Anyway, I'm going to eat all those fries. Are we too cynical?
Mom, Dad, trickle-down economics isn't real.
Reaganomics.
Reagan was mistaken. It's like these kids don't fucking know this shit.
No, they don't. But that's, of course, after Mom and Dad explained to him that. So.
Of course.
Yeah. So they're going out, but Santa gets a call, and Leon goes ahead, and he just finds out he gets a restaurant. It's like, oh, my God. And I'm like, what the fuck? Santa has a restaurant? I thought he worked here at this weird place as a Santa. Like, I thought he was just a straight up
you thought
mall
he was
Santa
like
the
a
whole
Santa.
time.
Okay.
I thought he was like, that was his full-time gig. Well, he's like, this motherfucker's got it all. I thought he was
true.
a real Santa. He tricked me.
He really committed to it at this point.
He committed to it. But no, he's like, oh, the investors want to meet. They want to meet me in person tomorrow. So it's cool. I could fly out there and I could come back here and it'll be okay. And she's like, oh, that's cool. And then he leaves, and then you see her and she gets upset. Mom is not happy with this.
Because he's choosing his job over this.
Choosing his job over them. His dream job. The dream job where he can get his restaurant up.
Yeah.
So she's upset. And he leaves. And she immediately, the next scene, her immediately leaving a voice message that says, you disappeared when I'm about to have a breakdown. I knew this family thing wouldn't work out. And then she hangs up, and I'm like, oh my God. Calm down. Your daughter is in. What's going on? Anyway.
Run. It's just like, run away. Get away from there.
She runs into another lady who gets done with her shift here. They seem to recognize each other. It's kind of a larger lady. She got dark hair.
She was the one that was working at that place called the Cabin that she was like, you need to lie and say that this is Santa.
Okay.
That's where they know each other from.
That's where they know each other from. Okay. She's like, wow, you're working here too? And she's like, yeah, double shift, you know.
Yeah.
By the way, they got some hard punch here. You want to get some? They're like, okay, cool. So she's going to drink her sorrows away. And they talk about,
and then she punches it in the face.
No, not that punch. No.
Hurts, don't it?
They talk about like why everything is so hard. You know, they commiserate about like how they hate Christmas and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, you really, of course you hate Christmas. You like tied up your daughter's whole personality around it.
Yeah, that'll do it.
And there's also, I guess, a lot of, you know, obviously the one night stands seem to happen around Christmas time. So a lot of issues like that. So, oh my God, what happened next? Okay, so then there's a person, she says, I should never get near a person who can disappear like a flash in our lives. But while they're drinking and commiserating with, you know, each other, Santa comes back at the middle of the night. And he's already there. And the whole village looks happy, and they're excited. Because Mrs. Claus, I assume she's Mrs. Claus. She seems to be the mayor, but I call her Mrs. Claus.
She looks like Mrs. Claus, yes.
She kind of looks like Mrs. Claus. She's so excited to be there. She's like, yes, we're going to light the Christmas tree. Mom says her philosophy, she's like, hey, by the way, this is back in the bar. She says, it's best, I hope for the best, but I prepare for the worst. And the bartender behind the counter goes like, they're like, what, you got something to say? He says, look, yes, it's good to prepare, but it's better to live. Is what he says. And they're like, oh, shit, insightful bartender. And he goes,
he says that to everybody.
Yeah, that's his line. And then he's like, why don't you buy another drink? So Santa's here.
Oh, are you closing out? It's good to close out, but it's better to live.
Exactly.
Another drink?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's his pitch. Pickup line. Everything works for everyone.
Yeah.
Santa,
are you leaving for the night? Well, it's good to leave, but it's better to live.
To live. He shuts the door on them.
That was starting to sound a little scary.
It's a little scary now, yeah.
Yeah.
You got 30 minutes to escape.
It turns into the Saw.
It turns into Saw, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Jigsaw Mi Amor. Okay, so Santa is gonna light up the tree. The mayor says it's the best tree they've ever had. Thanks to everyone here. You all pitched in. It was great. They give Leo the button to light it up, and She lights it up, and it goes up, and you see the lights go, and it's super tall, and it's beautiful. But then old drunk mom and her new friend come out, and they trip over these wires that are just the worst cable management you've ever seen in your life. It looks like a cartoon wire. Like, it is an absolute mess. And they trip over it, and they short out everything, and they ruin Christmas.
They ruin Christmas.
They ruin Christmas. And then we cut to the mom throwing up in the toilet because she drank too much. And I'm like, she doesn't seem that wasted, but what do I know? Maybe she's really good at holding
lives.
She lives. So Santa's like, hey, I came back, and I'm sorry this happened. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I came back because, like, what's Christmas without Santa? But I got to go back tomorrow. Mom's like, hey, look, I got to protect Leo from you. And he's like, from me?
Jesus.
Are you sure it's... Now he fights back, and he's like, are you sure it's me, or is it you?
Yeah.
Are you sure it's me, or is it you that you're protecting her from? Because, like...
You ruined Christmas.
Yeah, and then she's like, listen, you know how hard it is being a mom?
And he's like, yes, I do. I am actually a mom.
He's like, I'm trying my best here, man. Like,
yeah, it's true.
I am leaving on Christmas. I'll be back. But listen, like, your daughter, it's not my fault your daughter, you said that your daughter was a gift from Santa. Like, that's not my fault that's been put in there. I'm not going to lie to her anymore. And I'm like, what are we lying about? And then... And then what happened, it turned out that Leo was listening the whole time. And she runs back to her bed, and she starts crying. And her mom goes, and she's like, what's wrong? Is there anything I can do? She's like, I'm not a Christmas miracle. It's just that my dad didn't want me. I'm like, I don't know how she picked up that part, but I guess it was implied. And the mom's like, is there anything I do to make you feel better? She's like, I just want to go home. And Santa's like, the next day, like, while the mom's packing, like, please stay, please stay. She's like, listen, I keep making mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, and I'm not going to do that. And then he says, what is your mistake? What is the mistake you're referring to? Is your mistake lying to your daughter or our relationship? And he's like, it's not the fact that Leo doesn't believe in magic anymore. It's the fact that you never did. You never believed in magic. Which I'm like, okay.
What a weird thing to hold against a grown man.
No, a grown woman. This is him to her.
Oh, I thought she was saying this to him.
No. This is...
I thought she was like, you don't believe in magic,
No.
Sergio.
She would never say that because she never believed in magic.
I see.
So Santa goes one last time to Leon in the car, is about to drive away, and he's like, listen, you've been amazing. Like, I liked your mom, but I really thought you were really special. And I got you a snowflake because each one of them is so different. And I want to thank you for letting me get to know you. I think you're a magical little lion.
Aww.
So that was very cute. And she's like, oh, she seems kind of nice about that. And then he leaves.
And she is throwing this perfect man away.
Yeah, man, she got to protect her daughter, dude. She got to protect her daughter. True. So they take they ride home. She won't talk to her mom. She's giving her the silent treatment. And she finally is like, you got to talk to me at some point while they're home. And she says, the daughter says, lying is wrong. And you did that. But you know what's worse? Is when you say you do things for me, but you do it because you're scared.
Ooh.
I'm like, oh, shit. This mom just got fucking roasted.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Look, I'm not a parent. I bet getting roasted by your kid is like an extra roast, right? Like, their mind is not fully developed.
But you have to be a bit proud because you're also the one that, like, raised them to do that. You know what I mean?
That's true. But
yeah, that's
also,
like the ultimate negative self-talk right there.
Yeah.
You just raised this kid.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Think
to
about
read
that.
you. Yeah.
It says, yeah, do you forgive me? The mom says. She's like, and Leon just leaves. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't say she forgives him. And then we cut to both the mom and the daughter crying in their own separate bed, and the camera swings over and pans over to both of them, show they're both in the same position. And then Leon then goes to see her mom. She's like, Mommy, are you crying? She says, oh, it's allergies. And Leon says, why didn't you have any allergies in the North Pole? She's like, oh, that's a good point. She's like, I'll be fine. I'll put on some makeup. And we're going out. And I'm like, you're going out? And then suddenly we're at a Christmas party? Is this set up? Okay, no.
No, I'm not
they
heard
got
about
a Christmas
this Christmas party.
It seems like a family Christmas party. Mom's there talking to her friend. And I've introduced all these people. I have no idea who they are.
Probably your aunt.
One, the aunt is telling you should join a support group for single mothers. Her friend can't find her or anything. She's trying to avoid this whole situation. Whatever, does this matter? Leon gets taken by, I guess by the mom's sister, her technical aunt, and like she keeps explaining like how much she likes Santa, and she's like, let's go do something. So she goes and visits where Santa works, one of his restaurants, but it's adults only. Like it's just, kids aren't allowed. It's a fancy place. It's not like a porn place he works at or anything. But maybe it is. Santa Mi Amor. Could be an interesting porn shop name. So then she gets she starts giving a message. She says to one of the waiters, like, hey, can you give this a message to Sergio? And I'm like, who the fuck is Sergio?
Are you talking about Santa?
Yeah. I'm like, is that Santa? The mom realizes that her daughter's missing and starts grilling the poor brother-in-law. But just in time, and this is the weird scene. This scene is very weird, just the way it's shot. It's Santa arrives. Santa arrives. But first, the mom walks out and she smiles. She's like very happy because she sees her sister arrive. She's so happy. I thought it was going to be like, Santa right there. And then Leon arrives. And then some random other people arrive and she starts smiling. And they all kind of like get into a line behind her. And she's so happy to see everyone. It's weirdly quiet. And then suddenly Sergio arrives. He's got normal colored hair. He's not wearing a suit. And I'm like, this guy.
You don't recognize him at all.
I don't recognize him at all. He's too handsome. I didn't know Santa could be even hotter.
His hair's different.
They call him, oh my God, it's Sergio. And he says, one time you told me that your biggest fear wasn't one broken heart, but it's two broken hearts.
It's two broken hearts, yes.
And he says, just like I'm scared of heights, which is maybe the whole reason he did the zipline thing, to show that he was scared of heights, so he could make this analogy at the end.
Okay.
I don't know.
There we go.
Then he says, then I met someone very special, and now I realize that my new fear is 3 broken hearts.
Ooh.
So
that's very beautiful.
He gives the letter that Leon gave to him earlier while he was working at the restaurant. And the letter says, Dear Santa, I know I asked for a skateboard. I don't want a skateboard anymore. I just want you and my mom to be happy together and us to all be a family. That's all I want. And he says, I'm not going to force you to do anything. Just letting you know this is what I wanted to give you this because this is what your daughter gave to me.
This guy's such a catch, dude.
You could take your time. I'll be around. And he turns around to leave. And she's like, no, stay. You could stay the rest of my life because you make me happy. Okay, first off, I did not know how they've been dating for a whole year.
They had
before then. So I'm just like, whoa. We're getting real. First, this guy's mask off with the Santa. And now she's already with him? That's crazy. She's already just like standing there the whole time. But a year.
So you thought they had ran into each other, dressing as Santa Claus.
And it's just been a shenanigans the whole time.
Okay.
But he's been cool anyway, so it worked out. But no, they've been dating a while.
They've been dating for a year now, yeah.
Uh-huh. And then she's like, what do you say? He's like, and then he says, there's no fire without air. And then they smooch. And I'm like, damn, that guy is really going hard.
Seriously?
Really going hard. They say this is the best Christmas ever, says Leon. Thank you, Santa. And like, actually, you should probably start saying this is Sergio. And I'm like, oh, wow. And then the aunt's like...
You're like, oh, wow, wait, they're the same person?
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. No, I knew it was the same person, but
sure
I was just like,
did.
I didn't know it was his
Sure
name. You're right, I know who it was. I'm faking it. I didn't know. This new guy walked in. That's why I was so surprised. She's like, rest of my life. I'm like, you just fucking met this guy right now. He just gave you a letter from Santa.
What about that Santa guy that you
were perfect
with?
What about that Santa guy? He was so hot. This other guy's hot, too, in a similar way, but different.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that jovial spirit, I don't think this guy's going to eat any cookies. He's going to say they're too sweet. What a little bitch. So he says, yeah, so the aunt's like, don't invite her to that single Facebook group anymore. Then segues, and then it's like happy. The movie ends, credit rolls. It segues into a weird cartoon animation with these like
what?
It's weird. It's very bad that they put the actors' faces in like stop motion, not like stop motion, but like they changed
took,
depending on what they're doing. They took frames of the actors' faces and put them on this animation. And showing them like living their life normally and how it's great their life is. It's very weird, very off-putting. That's the end of the movie.
Wow. And we all learned something very important. So that was okay.
I don't know what I learned.
What are we doing? Snowflake ratings? 5 snowflakes?
Man, I can't believe how bad our memory is. We can't even remember what we did like 2 weeks ago. What we called these? We'll go snowflakes. Sure.
5
snow
snowflakes.
Globes. Maybe it was
snow globes. One of those things.
Whatever.
I'm gonna say it's gonna be like 2.5.
That's exactly where I was gonna put it. Yeah.
There we go. Cool.
Because I think as far as like bad Christmas movies go, which this is one of them, like there's a lot of. I mean,
it's
like,
watchable.
It's watch. It's very watchable. I think the actors are very charming. I think there's actually like genuine good chemistry between the two leads, and even the kid is like really charming and fun, which is very rare in like especially Christmas.
Very rare. Very rare.
Very rare. So that gets credit for that. I just think the characterization of the mom was a little all over the place.
Insane.
They were trying to make her seem very protective, but it didn't feel justified enough. It felt like they had the premise, and it felt like they couldn't quite put it together without throwing someone kind of under the bus on the sanity check a little bit. Which is a little bit of a bummer because I think the actor was pretty good, and I felt like she could have had better material. But overall, it's fun. It's charming. It's nice seeing everyone come together for Christmas, and they hit all the beats of Christmas. You got Hot Santa. That's cool.
You got snow.
Do you have snow?
Oh, was there no snow at all? I thought they had fake snow.
No, they had no fake snow. I don't think they're just. I told you, global warming. They can't make snow.
That's true. They explained
maybe
that
I'm wrong.
away.
Maybe I just ignored it, but I don't remember seeing any snow.
That's fair. Yeah, it was fine. I agree with you. I think this is one of the better like rom-com Christmas movies. It's watchable. It's entertaining. It's charming. I thought it was interestingly directed. It's nice to see a director actually give a shit when making a movie like this. Mm-hmm. Even if it was a lot of choices.
Yeah. I don't think it works, but I appreciate them trying because at least it keeps someone interesting. Oh, I did mention there was one scene where they were in the sleigh navigating, and it was the very strange shot. I'm going to try my best to describe it, but it felt like the camera was in front of all three of the actors, and instead of like doing a wider shot, it zoomed in on each of their faces, and then the camera panned up or left and right depending on who was talking. It was like I think that's the right term. It's not. No, pan is the turning one. It shifted left and right. So it didn't pan.
Tracked.
No, tracks when it goes forward and back, I believe. Anyway, it's going side to side. I do not know the exact term, and I apologize, film freaks out there. But it's going side to side, up, down, left, and right. There's no depth motion, and there's no turning of the camera itself.
That sounds bizarre.
Swinging up and down. It's very weird because like cameras won't normally move like that. Like it almost feels like they shot a wide shot with like maybe a 4K camera or something, or a high resolution camera.
Oh, and they zoomed
then maybe
into
digitally zoomed it in, maybe. But it feels a little too. I mean, they could do anything with special effects, I guess. But it felt like they were really moving the camera around in a weird way. But it's very jarring. I did not like that shot at all. It was
one thing that happened in my half because we kept getting shots of like phones and stuff, and I think this director probably worked on like commercials before this, which might explain like the flair that this person has. But like every time we got a phone shot, they would like motion track the camera to the phone. So everything around the phone was like shaky, but the phone itself was completely stationary.
Oh,
which felt
weird.
Which felt really unnerving. Like it felt almost like Fincher, like a Fincher feeling to it.
I didn't realize I didn't read what was on the phone, but I could clearly see there were a lot of messages on that phone. And it was very strange to see how clear it was, but
it was weird. And I think they did it so that you could read what was on the phone. But I'm like, I've seen in movies before, they'll just track the fake screen onto the phone and it feels a little more natural. But this way it was tracked onto the phone, like it was motion tracked. And it was like, this is a bad choice. I think this is a bad choice.
I think it's also why I felt like that shot earlier when I first came in felt like AI. There was something just weird. Like they use effects that feel kind of, maybe it's inexpensive or something. And this just kind of like zooming in, it feels very commercially. Like it felt like a commercial in some ways.
I truly feel like this guy probably started out doing like music videos and commercials, and this is like one of his first big things, and that's why there's a lot of flair to it. But I do think the guy needs to learn a bit about like an overall style, it's he's good about like finding it. If you're listening to this, we always say this. really good at getting like the big moments, but I think you got to find the connective tissue and make everything feel like it's like a little more cohesive. Personally, but I'm going to bat for you, man. I think you did a good job here. Like, not too shabby.
You're taking swings, and I appreciate that. That's rare in these types of
better
movies,
than most. Better than most.
But yeah, Santa Mi Amor. It's not bad.
Check it out. It's on Amazon.
It's cute.
Whatever. It's fine. It's fun.
Yeah.
You know, harmless. Brought the Christmas spirit to us all.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys. How long did you guys believe in Santa Claus? Email us at email@podcast.com. You can find us on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on Blue Sky. We're on Discord. Check them out. Check us out anywhere there. And if you want to listen to our previous Christmas and winter Wonderland holiday episodes, you can find them on any podcatching app. And while you're there, please leave a 5-star rating and review. We will read it in the show no matter what it says, even if it's telling us that Santa isn't real.
How dare they?
We'll read it. Yeah.
Like, we like to ask, how long has it been since Santa? Did you not believe in Santa? Also, you're going to write a review that says Santa isn't real? Can't have that, though. Can't have that. I think I
don't want to hear that. Well, what if our audience, primarily made up of children, read one of the reviews and discovers that Santa's not real?
We're a very, very kid-friendly show here. We don't say fuck, shit, ass,
tits, bitch,
boobs, Christmas cocks.
Good night, everybody.
Couldn't follow that one up, could ya? Couldn't follow that one up.
Couldn't follow up the cocks.